Today we've got abandoned railway behind us, we've got abandoned canal up there. There's loads to see on this video. I'm back on the Lichfield Canal and I'm at Lock 18, which is just behind us here. This is where the WRG groups, the waterway recovery groups, did a lot of work last year, and they did a lot of sheet piling down here and various other things. This is one of the ongoing projects of the Lichfield and Hafton Canal Restoration Trust, one of their really good ones. This is Fossway Heath behind us, which is a massive kind of nature reserve area that's being built, which includes the canal and also now an old railway across the top there, which is the Mcclean Way. That's been turned into a greenway and it's a very interesting little project. I've covered that on my new channel called Exploring, which you can go and have a look at. The link will be in the description. We're going to follow that railway up and see if we can find some of the lost structure along the way of the bits of the canal that are on private land. Right behind me here, well, there would have been a bridge here, first of all, Fossway Lane Bridge, and then this would have been a lock just in here, as well as several others. This eventually goes up to the M6 toll bridge at Summerhill and then off onto the Welly and Esserton Canal. Right in front of us here is a signal box I've featured on a few videos, and is a really cool building. So it's a level crossing box. That's the section I covered on the other video on my new channel, and this is where we're going to go today. Now, as I say, this is being converted into a greenway and has currently been cleared by Back the Track, which are a group up here, a volunteer group doing all this work with the eventual aim of clearing this towards Lichfield. That's still waiting for full approvals and stuff, but it's really cool because the tracks are still in place. Parts of this down near Walsall End have been tarmacked and stuff, and is now a really good cycleway. I'm not too sure if the plan is for that here at the moment. I think at the moment it's just going to be kind of the ballast sort of levelled out, but it's quite a cool project. You can see in areas like this, look, where they've had to chop back the trees and stuff. They're a really good group, and I'm here to meet Guy today, and we're going to discuss what's happening.
Okay, so you see the rails down here, that all the single track, and there is a little bit of double track still further down there, which was never recovered. This is all been now promised 1,000 metres to Sen Valley Railway, which is a heritage railway which runs from Bridgnorth to Kidderminster. They've also offered some to Chasewater Heritage Steam Railway as well. If they want it, they can have it, but I think they only want a small amount. The rest is going to be recycled, lifted and taken away, because there was concerns over trip hazards, and they didn't want people, well, as you can see, it's going to be hard work to walk across this. So it's all going to be lifted up, and then we're going to try and improve the surface so there are less trip hazards.
So along here would have been a load of locks. There'd have been the one I said just by the road, just over there. Then there's another 4 here, so 5 in total. Then you've got Lock 18 behind as well. So it was quite a flight coming up this hill here. And that would have been just over there in those fields where you can see that tree line. Now that's all on private land, so it's a little bit difficult for me to get to, but hopefully the drone can show you a little bit more about what was there. We're going to walk along these tracks now, and I'm kind of stepping on sleepers here, so I might be a bit bouncy, and get to a lane called Walling, which is where the canal and the railway would have passed side by side, and see if there's anything remaining of the canal up there. Now this is a bit of an exploration for me. I've never checked this area out. There's very little content about this section of canal. This is quite hard to research, but from what I understand, the locks are all still there, just buried, and a lot of the structure is there, kind of ready to go as well. So let's jump to Wall Lane Bridge now and see what we can find. Look at this absolutely massive bridge. It's huge. So this would have been double tracked at one point. If you actually go to the bit behind us in my previous video, you'll see there's still double tracking down there. This is all quite old. A lot of this is going to be reused by heritage railways, the track and stuff, but the sleepers here are mostly rotten. You can see just here, look, that is completely gone. Some of them are okay though, and there's some concrete ones just by the entrance back there. But this is a fantastic bridge, look at it. It's huge. So here we are at the top now, and you can see just by looking down there quite how high it is. It's a lot taller than it looks. It's a massive bridge. So the canal would have been literally just on this other side here. Let's have a quick look. So I believe this was the canal here, it looks kind of like it drops off a little bit, and this looks almost like a little embankment here as well. So it would have come across through here, there would have been a bridge here, which I don't know if it's still under here, and then off into this land over here. Now this is all fenced off, it's all private land again, so there's not much I can do, but you can see where all that growth is over there, where the canal would have definitely run through there. There's a lot of work to restore this end, where this is the middle really. Fossway Heath, where we started, is about 3.5 miles from the start, and it's a 7-mile canal, so it's kind of like the start of the second half. So this was the world's first private railway. It was owned by one person, and it's the first time that it ever happened. Before this point, it was all owned by sort of groups that had set up to build it, and landowners who joined up to connect their land. So this being the world's first private railway, it's got quite a historic importance really. But also, Mcclean, who was the one that built this railway, was also involved with water. He was a bit of a legend around here, a bit of a saint around here really. And there was dirty water, and which caused cholera further down to the way we're going. And he built this Sandfields pumping station up behind us, which sits next to the canal as well, in the old canal route that's not going to be restored. A lot of people believe that that was a canal pumping station, but it actually wasn't. It was to take water from Lichfield, which was clean, across to the Black Country, and it saved a lot of lives. It's really cool doing these sort of walks, because you don't often get to sort of walk along old railways where the tracks are still there, and they've done some really great work here to sort of restore this and clear this really, because this was just an overgrown mess before. There was nothing here of sorts. There's a lot of hatred, certainly on the video I made on the other channel, about destroying these old railways. And I suppose when you do videos like I do, which is restoration of canals and trying to save abandoned canals and abandoned areas, you'd think I'd be completely up for this becoming a railway, not a greenway, a cycle route, or whatever you want to call it. Now, I am. I would love this to be a heritage railway. I'd love this to be running proper services and connecting Walsall and Lichfield. But the powers that be have decided that that's not going to happen, and we are left in a situation where you either do this and save the routes, clear it, make it actually manageable and usable, and preserve that heritage by doing so. Things like that bridge that we just walked under are going to be better maintained now because there's a cycle path going under it, or a greenway going underneath it. It's better that than losing it completely. And what it also helps is if one day the council decide we could do with a track there, they've got a clear route. It's wide enough to still take a cycleway and a railway with some passing places put in, and you can have both. So it's not a complete loss to the railway by having the actual tracks lifted. The sleepers are so rotten here that they've got to be lifted anyway, so you've got no choice in the matter really. And yeah, we get this lovely clear route through to connect two cities and bring that health and wellbeing benefits of commuting between the two rather than going in your car or cycling down main roads. So a lot of ticks for this really, and I'm sorry if that offends anybody who hate losing railways. So we're now approaching a more modern road deck here. You can see it's a concrete bridge, but a lot of this I believe is old infrastructure, and they've just put a concrete deck on the top. You probably had a steel bridge across the top there, like a box section bridge, and that's obviously been replaced with a newer structure. It's quite a busy road up there. So the canal originally would have ran, so the canal is here, and it would have originally ran across here and come then across in that angle. But what happened is when the railway was built, it was straightened so you could have the canal with less bridges. But the canal is just up here, look. So this is all on private land now, so I can't explore that section of canal. But what you can see is an old wall across there. Look, if you follow it along that line there, that was an old, looks like a wharf wall or just a waiting wall to get under the bridges. Got this lovely kind of vaulted edge to it, and all of these, and then that goes off then along the greenway. We're going to jump off of this in a second and follow the canal, because as you'll see from here, the canal now curves off to the left. And we're going to go to an area called Summerhill, working our way up and seeing what we can find. This old bridge here, you can see the towpath and the walls are still in place on the other side. And you've got some rub rails here, look, still in place. But it is very, very much in an abandoned state. It'd be great to see this restored, but I can't see it happening for a few years yet. There's lots and lots of stuff to do on the Lichfield Canal before they get to here. If you're driving up the M6 toll, you see this aqueduct in the middle of nowhere. It's not connected on either end. It's a very random bit of infrastructure to have, but that in fact saved the canal. So without that, the canal could never have happened. So when they were building the M6 toll, they put this campaign in and they built this bridge. They raised the money and they built this bridge. Very last minute, they built this aqueduct, and it was a great idea, great forward thinking, because now the canal can happen, and it would have just been too expensive to have done at any other time. So next up on the canal is the Pipehill pumping station, which is just over there. We've come a bit past it. That was built in 1910 and pumps about 1.8 million litres of water a day. I think it's litres and maybe gallons. And that's, you can see it just over the fields, just red building just over there. And the canal runs directly behind it and comes through along this tree line is the canal. And it's pretty cool. So there would have been a bridge here and then a lock on the other side there. You can't get into this side, it's completely fenced off. It's someone's land now, again private land here. I hope the lock is still there. I believe it is. Like I said before, I think a lot of them are infield, so they still exist. They've just been buried under a pile of sort of rubbish and mud. But there is a bit of a cut through down here, and this is the old canal in front of us. Look at that. So the bridge would have been just kind of to our left slightly here. And you can see how this banks down into the canal channel, which would have been down here. This is a lot of work to get up to any standard. Just clearing it will take a few years, because you can't just clear these things in one go. You've got to do them slowly. So you kind of cut a third of it back and then leave 2/3 of the trees. That allows nature to move out. And then a year later you can cut another third of it, and now that allows nature to slowly move on, and also gives you the opportunity to create new habitats. So you're not destroying nature completely. You can get tree planting in, hedgerow planting, whips in and stuff like that to start creating a habitat you're going to lose. Obviously the aim of the game is to massively increase the habitat all over the canal. So once the water's in, you create loads of habitat, and that gives a really riparian habitat there, because you've got the banks down. Riparian, I keep saying this term if you don't know, is basically like the bushy banks of a river or canal. Then literally a stone's throw away, you've got the main road, so it comes across the fields. The pumping station you can see is there. It comes across there through Coppice Lane Bridge and Lock, then down through here. And this is the next bridge. So this is Moat Bank Lane Bridge. It's not its only name, there are a few names for it, and this still exists. And you've got the canal down through there. You can see the bridge there. It looks like it's a more modern deck actually. Let me see what we can see. So then there would have been a lock directly in again just here, and you can see where they've waterfalled that lock. Can you see down there, there's kind of like steps going in, so this would have gone straight into the lock from the bridge. You can see the walls of the lock there, and the gates would have been kind of just here. So what they do is they cascade them, so they put a waterfall in, and it means the water can flow on down and carry on through. So this is on private land, so I'm not going to stick my camera in over the top there. You can see the edges of the bridge, and the canal would have ran directly through there at a much lower level than this. The canal then takes a bit of a detour, so it goes down this way, and then it's got to cross Watling Road, and at that point it can't follow the original path, so it has to come across, and you've got a you need to stay lower then, because then we're starting to get towards the Summerhill section. So Watling Street, if you don't know, is an old Roman road which still exists to this day. It ran from Dover through to London to a place called Roxeter, I think it was called, which I believe is Shropshire. So it was quite a long route, one of the longer Roman roads. It was quite important in Roman times actually. It went from sort of classic antiquity and then carried on through past Roman times now to today. But the canal would have been to our right here, and it would have carried on through here. Now what you've got here is, after that diversion, you've now got to get under a road. So the canal has to stay lower. And one of the locks that's just behind us is only going to be about a 2-foot rise, rather than being a sort of 9-10 foot like the rest of them are. And the reason is so it can stay under the road and then come back up on the other side, which we'll get to in a second. It's actually a 4-foot free rise, so that'd be 9B, and 9A, which will be just on the other side of this main road over here, is a 4'7" rise, so that gets you up to this same level that you would have been, but it takes you under this road here. And this road is very, very busy, as you're going to see in a second, as cars go screaming down it. You can see just to the right of the pub, the boat, there's a sign, and that's the Lichfield Canal. Now that takes you up then to the Aqueduct we discussed on the M6 toll, which, like I said, I'm not going to go that far because we've already done it, so please look at that video if you want to see that section. And that's very interesting then. So you go over the Aqueduct, and then you're in a bunch of locks going down to the Ogley locks, they're called the Ogley Flight, and that takes you to the Worley and Essington Canal, which this was part of. This was a branch of the Worley and Essington originally. It was renamed the Lichfield Canal when the restoration started. Like a lot of these restorations, they name the canal after the area. Like the Cotswolds, there's the Cotswold canals, there's actually 2 canals. This changed its name to the Lichfield. My thoughts on this are, this section is going to be the very last bit to do. Everything in this video will be the last bit to do. Once you've got the bit to Fossway Heath where we started done, which will be the next 10 years, and then you start on the other side and you do the Ogley section, the locks there, that's much easier. That takes you up and over the Aqueduct. So what you end up with is 2 parts of the canal, 2 halves with the middle missing. And then at that point I think there's going to be enough momentum and enough support for all of this land in the middle to happen really. Either the landowners will start to agree, landowners sell on and they buy it, the council will get involved, whatever. But the aim is always to do it with support of the landowners. Now canal side property, as you know, has 20% on, so when you get to a point where this canal is connected and there's boats coming up and down it, it makes sense to make the money off the land where you can if you're the landowner. So hopefully more people will see that and it will happen. I still think this will be the first canal completed, linking canal completed. There are other restorations where there may be just arms, and that's probably a little bit easier. Lichfield are just an insane canal machine, and they are from strength to strength all the time. So I can see the momentum building even more on this, and what is already the fastest canal restoration in the country will just be like a Ferrari speeding down the road. Have a great day.